My name is Dr. Rishikant. I am Assistant Professor of Chemistry in the School of Natural Sciences, GNA University. Today, I am going to take the lectures on the environmental studies, and the first topic of presentation is going to be natural resources. All the EVS lectures will be covered in the coming series, and UGC has introduced a compulsory course environmental studies to all the graduate students, and that can be helpful for all the graduate students for the same. Now, coming to our topic for today is the natural resources. So, as we understand that natural resources need to be defined and rethink about the uses of natural resources nowadays, and let's move on to the topic. Today I'm going to talk about the natural resources and how they are of different types, that is renewable and non-renewable resources. Also, we will go in detail with the forest resources, water resources, mineral resources, food resources, energy, land, and in the last, we are also going to do what is the role of individual in the conservation of natural resources. So just as said, what is natural resources? Natural resources are the resources which are provided by the nature. They include air, water, forests, animals, fishes, marine life, biomass, fossil fuels like coal, petroleum and natural gases, wildlife, renewable energy sources like solar energy, wind energy, biomass energy and geothermal energy. That means all of the resources which we see around us are the natural resources. Even we are also the part of natural resources. And majorly said that the prosperity of a nation is dependent on the natural resources available in the nation. So why it is important? Because the economic growth, the GDP of a country is dependent on the natural resources. Later on you will know that many of the mineral resources like gold, like coal and petroleum, the export of these resources is giving the prosperity to the nation. So it is very important to understand that prosperity and GDP of a nation is dependent on these natural resources. So first of all, we should understand what is called renewable resources. Renewable resources are those resources which can be generated again and again. That means, or we can also define in the way that they can be produced in a very short period of times. Example includes sunlight, as we all understand this, wind, rain, tidal energies. They are available in the plenty of amounts and by far most the cleanest source of energy available on this planet, because they don't cause any pollution. So mainly we should learn what are the examples of renewable sources. They are the solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, biomass energy from plants and other fossils. Tidal energy are the example of renewable resources. We have also included the pictorial representation of these. Solar is represented with this symbol. Wind is also represented by windmill. Geothermal energy or geo energy is also represented. Hydro, that is based on the water. Biomass energy and tidal energy. So these are the example of renewable resources. So let revise it once again. The example of renewable resources are solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, hydro energy, biomass energy and tidal energies. Second type of natural resources is non-renewable resources. A non-renewable resource is a natural resource that cannot be remade or regrown at a scale comparable to its consumption. That means as we consume the resource, it cannot be generated on the same time. And we can also say that they are not available in the plenty of amount, they are available in the limited amount. Non-renewable sources also causes the pollution, which is very harmful for our health. And this is the motive of giving the lectures on EVS, that we should take care of these natural resources so that pollution is not created. That means using them can also have serious effect on our health. They are called non-renewable because they cannot be regenerated with a short span of time. So what are the example of non-renewable sources? So we can conclude from this picture, they are the natural gases like LPG, CNG. They are the coal, as we all know that coal is the major source of energy for all the developing countries. Oil, diesel, petrol and other oils, they are the example of non-renewable energy sources. We can also include the mineral resources are the example of non-renewable resources. So let's talk in the detail about the forest resources, which is very important to understand nowadays because overuse of these forest resources is now creating a very problematic environment for us. So by end of this PPT, we will understand that using the forest resources in the sustainable way is very important for all of us. So forest resources. Scientists estimate that India should ideally have 33% of its land under the forest. That means it is very important to maintain the healthy life balance with the forest. Today, we have only about 12%. Thus, we need not only to protect our existing forest, but also to increase our forest cover. Forests are very important for us because they maintain the biodiversity, and in daily life we can say that the clean environment, oxygen that we consume is given by the forest, and all other resources are also provided by the forest. So it is very important to understand their consumption, their use and their protection as well. So what are the uses of forest resources? Mainly, if we talk about the use of forest resources, so first one is they stop the rain-bearing wind and causes the rainfall. The long trees, which are responsible for the flow of direction of air, also responsible for causing the rain. They increases the moisture content in the atmosphere and thereby provide additional precipitation. Humidity, we also know that this is the part where this is called humidity. Sometimes we have seen that before the rain it is a very humid environment. So that means it is also controlled by the plants, trees. They minimize the extreme variation in the climatic conditions and make the climate more equilibrium. You have always seen that if it is a very hot summer, so if you see the temperature in the open area and then see the temperature under the tree, you will definitely find a climatic condition is better under the tree because they can give the control to the temperature as well and more effectively to the climate. So next one is they control floods during heavy rain by absorbing excess of water. This was also important because right now in the monsoon season we see that flood can only be controlled by these trees, and then the speed of that flood can also be controlled. They causes prevention to the soil erosion because soil erosion is one of the important aspect of agriculture, farming. If the top layer of the soil is eroded, then it will impact to the agriculture productivity. The next one is the thick roots of tree absorb large quantity of water. Thus, forests help in the flow of rivers and streams as well. So these are the uses of forest resources in our daily life. So more about the forest resources is they offer hunting grounds, because most of the times the people living nearby the forest, they are dependent on the forest resources, so they provide the hunting grounds. They provide shelter for wild animals and birds, as we all understand this, that wildlife is all dependent on the forest. So the shelter and the biodiversity is maintained by the forests. They improve the sanitary conditions of place, because clean air, CO2, carbon dioxide that we excrete, we generate from the respiration, is taken by the plants and providing the clean conditions for the atmosphere. They facilitate human existence. Yes, this is one of the greatest things, because if the plants do not exist, then we cannot exist as well, because main source of our respiration and life is oxygen, and it is provided by the forest or plants. They provide employment, large number of people in different capacity as woodcutters, carriers, and many more employment is there for the forest resources, because if we talk about the herbal medicines, so they are also a large source of employment. They also provide, yes, this is the point, they also provide the herbal medicine. So we can clearly understand that hunting grounds, shelter for wild animals, improved sanitary conditions, source of revenue for the government. As I said, revenue or prosperity of nation is dependent on these sources. And the life existence is due to oxygen, and which is given by the plants and forest, employment and herbal medicines. So these are some important use of forest resources which we can understand. And by these points, it is very clear that most life cannot exist without them. Now it is, as we understand that we know that forest resources are available, but in this age nowadays, in this development era, with the technology advancement, there is a large scale depletion of forest. So we should understand what are the reasons why there is so much deforestation occurring in the nearby areas. So the main reasons lies, one of the reason is expansion of agriculture. As the population is increasing, demand for the food, demand for the other resources, as we all are the agriculture dependent. So expansion of the areas for agriculture leads to the deforestation or large scale depletion of the forest. Large area of forest land have been cleared for the urbanization and human settlement. Yes, because cities are expanding, urbanization is there. More people are living nearby the urban areas, and they are increasing. So that definitely it is going to impact on the forest. Commercial exploitation of the forest, commercial activities, business activities, because this is natural resources. So all the time it is available to our nearby areas. So if you see the commercial exploitation, it will definitely cause the large scale depletion. Forest fire. You have recently heard about the forest fire in the forest of America. If it is catches a fire, it is very difficult to control them. Amazon forest has also caused forest fire, which is natural cause, and definitely it is going to be one of the disaster as well. It impacts to everything. Mining activities in the forest area is also responsible for the large scale depletion of the forest. And forest diseases, just like you have seen the coronavirus in our recent time, which causes the many of the people causing death and many other major diseases. So same, there are also the forest diseases which causes all the area of the forest to not grow further. By understanding the reasons, we now understand this, that it is very important to stop these forest resources using, and we should understand forest resources are available, no problem, but we should use them in a sustainable way. Now, we should also understand what is the adverse effect of depletion of the tree, because it is what is going to impact. It is going to impact on us. Yes. So, if we understand that it is going to impact on us, so we can understand the need of conservation of the forest. So let's see what are the adverse effect of depletion of the trees. It has contributed to rise in temperature. Yes, if you cut the trees, temperature is going to rise. Lesser precipitation. That means rain is also not having that amount. It is responsible for increased rate of soil erosion, because if trees are not there, it is going to get the soil erosion by the water flow rate. It is responsible for increase in the frequency and volume of the floods. Yes, if as I said, trees are responsible for controlling the floods. So if depletion of the tree will occur, floods will definitely increase. It has led to the loss of soil productivity. If soil erosion occurs, you can clearly understand that productivity of soil is going to lose, and that is affecting the agriculture. If trees are lost, then biodiversity will also affect, because as we know, life exists in a different form and it is majorly existing in the forest. So it will definitely impact to the biodiversity. It has led to the extinction of several species of the plants and animals. Yes, this is also going to, because if the climatic condition, if the environment surrounding the forest is going to change, then the adaptation will not occur, and most of the animal and plant species is going to suffer. They are nowadays, many of the species are threatened and endangered. Now, if they are not protected, they are going to extinct. It causes the imbalance in the ecosystem, because for science understanding, the nearby surrounding area where living and non-living interacts is called ecosystem. That means it is going to create an imbalance in the ecosystem, in the nearby surrounding of us, in our environment. So these are the adverse effect of depletion of the trees. By understanding this, that the forest resources, availability of the resources uses large scale depletion of the trees, what is the reason and their adverse effect. Now, it is important to understand the conservation of the forest, which is the need of the time as well. So, how can we do the conservation of the forest? It is very important to understand now. First one is regulated and planned cutting of trees. Trees are grown in the definite interval of time. If we plan them a regulated cutting or a regulated or planned cutting, then we can definitely use these resources. Control over the forest fire. If this can be done, then many of the forest resources can be saved. Reforestation, regrowing planting the more trees to the areas which are not covered by the forest. Afforestation, those forests which are already destroyed, now if they are conserved, they can be afforested. Check on the forest clearance for agriculture and human habitation and settlement. Now it is the need of the time that we should understand, if forest cover is there, it should be taken the dual permission from the government and the understanding about the agriculture expansion. Development of the green belt around the cities. Now you have all seen these examples. Cities are now requiring the green belt. That means we should also establish about the development of the trees nearby us. We should dedicate the locations for the developing the forest as well, just like we do the urban planning. Check on the mining activities in the forest areas, because this is going to affect. Mining is also responsible for the depletion. Protection of existing forests. Since we know that forest is still like, if we protect them, then it is not going to lose our biodiversity. Conservation of threatened species of the tree. Yes, We know that seed bank, gene bank can be developed. So we need to conserve the threatened, which are currently facing the threat for the being extinction. We should also do the conservation of threatened species of the trees. So by doing these activities, we can have a very control over the deforestation, large scale depletion of the forest. More advanced, more advanced conservations is agroforestry. Nowadays, people understand that forest growing the trees is important demand, important aspect of the time. So agroforestry, doing the agriculture with the help of forest, is one of the greatest idea. If you plant the trees and if they give you the economic purpose of like seeds, fruits, then very best way. Development of national park and sanctuaries. We in India we have this developed dedicated uh, uh, areas for the conservation of the forest. Development of botanical gardens to grow the new and existing species. Development of seed banks, as I previously said, seed bank, you can store the seeds of the trees and plants, and they can be grown to the time which is favorable. Forest management, we should have the policies on forest management. Proper role of government in the forest conservation, because majorly the forests are deal with the government policies. So role of government is also very important to conserve the forest. Why we need to understand the forest resources? Because it is commercial or economic purposes. Deforestation, then we should understand the term deforestation. Deforestation means large scale cutting of the trees for the commercial and other purposes. Like cutting down of the tree for the use, for personal use or professional use, is deforestation. What are the causes of deforestation? Deforestation is caused by desertification, soil degradation and soil erosion, loss of vegetation cover. Vegetation cover is also responsible for plant growth, destruction of natural habitat and loss of wildlife, right? Change in the climatic condition, because as if we understand this, that every species, every living species has its unique environment to grow. If climatic condition is changing, then definitely it is going to impact in the growth. Environmental pollution. Now we all understand this term, that environmental pollution is causing very much to the growth of the plants, damage to the ecosystem, and reduction in the soil moisture are causes for the deforestation. So now we should also know how we can control the deforestation. Deforestation can be controlled by prevention of human settlement in the forest areas, because all the activities are being done by the people. So if we strictly stop the human settlement, the urbanization in the forest area, then we can prevent the deforestation. Check on the expansion of agriculture in the, yes, if we have a good policies and good system to check whether the agriculture is being expanded or not in the forest areas. Prohibition of setting up the agriculture in the forest lands. It should be totally prohibited, because nowadays we require more control on this. Check on the reckless cutting of the trees. Controlled mining in the forest areas. Check on the construction of large dam in the forest, because they are also going to affect it. Control on overgrazing in the forest areas, because cattle feed is also important aspect, pet animals. So if overgrazing is stopped, then they can also survive with the forest depletion. So with this, we bind up the forest resources, in which we have covered the meaning of forest resources, their use, what is the reasons for the depletion of the forest, their impact on our in our environment, and in their conservation. We also finished about the deforestation, their meaning, their impact, their reason, and their control. Now we are moving toward the next resource, that is water resources. As you can see, the water resources in the slides now, 67% of Earth's surface is covered by the water. But do you know it is available for our use? No. Only less than 2.7% global water is fresh water, because we can use the fresh water for the domestic purposes and the commercial purposes. Most of the fresh water are logged in ice caps and glaciers. Only less than 0.7% is available for human use. Now we can understand why it is important to understand that water resources are the real water resources which are available for use is less than 1%. So we should know the resources, the water resources, or controlled use of the water resources, because for basic need of life we require the water. So one of the important aspect of water resources is overutilization and pollution of surface and groundwater, because we can use the two type of water resources. One is surface water and groundwater. Groundwater is almost in the pure form, and it is being used in a broad way in this time. With the growth of human population, there is an increased need of larger amount of water to fulfill a variety of basic needs. Today, in many areas, this requirement cannot be met because population is more. Overutilization of water resources at various levels. Overutilization is very important word, because water resource has been really overutilized. Nowadays, we are getting the packaged water drink available at a very high cost. As we know, water is a natural resource, and still we are buying it from the buying a cost. Then how it is a natural resource? It should be declared an endangered resource. But we should understand that it is due to the overutilization of these resources. Now the availability of fresh water, potable water, is very less. Even the water that we consume many times is not that much pure that it is affecting our health. So most of us waste water. Yes, most of us waste water during a bath, by using shower, and during washing the clothes. And we should understand this, that it is the surface, and it is a drinkable water. Many agriculturists use more water than necessary to grow crops, because it is not having the control how much water is required for the particular crop. There are many ways in which farmers can use less water without reducing the yield, such as the use of drip irrigation system. Now, as you have seen that there is a fountain system moving to the all nearby area, and this is called drip irrigation system. So like small droplets sprinkled to the plants, and they can be used effectively rather than the bulk quantity of water. Agriculture also pollutes surface water and groundwater, because chemical fertilizers, pesticides. Nowadays, for getting a more production from the agriculture, we are using the chemical fertilizers, which is very harmful for the human being. Methods such as use of biomass and fertilizers. Methods such as use of biomass and fertilizers and non-toxic pesticides such as neem product reduces the agricultural pollution. We all know manures, the domestic waste of our daily need can be used for the this agricultural activities. Industry tends to maximize short-term economic gain by not bothering about its liquid waste and releasing them into the mainstream, rivers and sea. This is the main reason of water pollution. We see that how overutilization and pollution of surface and groundwater occurs. Now, excess of water is also harmful. Even I can say, or we can say that low amount of water is very like drought can occur, and if excess of water, excess of rain occurs, flood can occur. So floods have been a serious environmental hazards for the centuries. Like right now in the monsoon season, we are observing the many of the coastal areas are facing the flood. Deforestation causes the flood that kills people, damage crops and destroy homes. River changes its course during flood and tons of the valuable soil is lost to the sea, and this is a productive soil. As the forests are degraded, rainwater no longer relocates slowly into the subsoils and runs off down the mountable side bearing a large amount of topsoil. That means fertility cannot be maintained. So very less amount of rain or water is also a very impacting to our society. It is called drought. In the most arid regions of the world, the rain are unpredictable. This leads to a periods where there's a serious water scarcity to drink, to use for the farm and to use for the urban and industrial uses. One of the factors that worsen the effect of drought is deforestation. Drought is one of the major problems in our country due to unpredictable climate condition or failure of the rain, where rain is not happening to that level. So this is the distribution of population and the water resources in the continents. In Asia, the distribution of population is 60% and resources that is like ground and surface water is only 30%. And all other countries, it is almost, we can see that population is more for the demand of the water. So it is important to understand that what we should do right now. We should do the water management. Building several small reservoirs instead of few mega projects. Like a small water reservoir should be done. Development of few catchment dams, because water is stored in the dams. So if we systematically build the dams preserving the water. Afforestation permits recharging of water grounds. That means again forest resources need to be conserved. Treatment of recycling municipal waste for agriculture use. Yes, if wastewater can be treated, it can be reused, and even as for agriculture, it can be recycled and that can be used. Prevention of leakage from dams and canals, because the leakage can pollute the water. Preventing loss in the municipal pipes, because water is carried through the pipes, so leakage should be avoided. Effective rainwater harvesting. Modern technique for the restoring the water is the rainwater harvesting in the urban environment. You can use in the many ways. That rainwater you can use for the gardening, use for other purposes, use for the filling of that water bodies in the lower level of the earth. Water conservation measures in agriculture such as drip irrigation. Drip irrigation was the best idea of the giving the water for the lands for the agricultures. Pricing the water at its real value make the people use more, because nowadays packaged drinking water and the water availability is very in high demand. So pricing should be controlled and effective use for the reducing the water wasting. This is important criteria for water management. With this water management, we have finished the water resources, and these water resources included about the water resources availability, their overutilization, the excess of the water in terms of flood, the non-availability of water in terms of drought, and distribution of the population with the water resources, and in the last, water management. So by this water management, we can understand that water is very important for our life and we should use in the effective way. Now, next one is the mineral resources. Mineral resources are very much important for the economy of the country. You can clearly see the four pictures. One is the coal mining, these are the precious stones, one is gold, and these are the gemstones which are very precious. A mineral is a naturally occurring substance of definite composition and identifiable physical properties. In chemistry, we know these are the ores and minerals of the oxides of the metals. Minerals are formed over a period of time. Minerals are formed over a period of time of million years of the scale. That's why they are non-renewable energy resources. Non-renewable resources. Iron, aluminium, zinc, manganese, copper are important raw material for the industrial use, and we are using them on a daily basis. Important non-metal resources include coal, salt, clay, cements and silica. These all are being used nowadays. Stones are used for building materials such as granite, marbles, limestones, and category of the minerals. Marble and limestones are the salt of calcium. Minerals with a special property that humans value, such as diamonds. We know that diamonds is very costly. It is a mineral source for us. Emeralds, rubies, the luster of gold, silver, platinum are used for the ornaments. So these are the mineral resources, metal resources for very much popular in use. Mineral in the form of oil, gas and coal were formed when ancient plants and animals were covered and underground as a fossil fuel. That means the preparation of fossil fuel is a very long process. Mining activities. Actually, these minerals are obtained by the mining activities. The extraction of the mineral and their ore from the earth interior so that you can use. That means minerals can be obtained by the mining activities. Mines are of two types: surface mining and deep mining. Like we can do from two types. Mining is very dangerous occupation, like hazardous occupation, because it has the threat to the life as well. Safety of mine worker is also important. Surface mining is less hazardous because it do not require the fall of that buried underground, but metal mining is less hazardous than the coal mining. Mining poses several long-term occupational hazards to the miners. Dust producing during the mining operation is injurious to health and causing a lung disease, and many other diseases are there due to the mining these substances. Fumes generated by the incomplete dynamite explosion are extremely poisonous, and sometimes radiation is also hazardous and they can cause the serious environmental effect. This is the pictorial representation how surface mining can be done and underground mining can be done. Underground mining is somewhat tough for this. By this end of this presentation, we have finished mineral resources. In the next lecture, we will be doing the food resources. So till the time, keep tuning and watching these videos. Thank you.